education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationships, personality, and your values are some of the things that have not just eaten deep into your nature, but they have become your very nature. When was the last time you questioned any of these things? When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspektives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Paspektives. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.
You are welcome to the Prayer Rally Zone, PRZ 109.2 FM, and this is Paspektives, the show that is designed to take you that very one step closer to a better life. And my name is Emmanuel Utomi. Listeners, I'd like to say thank you for joining me and my guests, because guess what? Denise Jackson is back in the house. Denise, you want to give a shout out to everyone? Stop clapping. she keeps clapping.
I'm good to clap. Hello, good evening, one and all.
Yeah,
it's good to be back.
Thank you.
I'm actually honored to be back.
Wow, we're honored too. Well, for those who went around last week, Denise was on the program. We're talking about how to reinvent yourself. But you know what? We're going to dive straight into what we have for this week, because our time is not so much. But before we do that, I'd like to remind you that if this is your first time of joining us on Paspektives, you can be a part of the program, because you can get in touch with us either by email or by text message, or you could send a tweet. If you'd like to send us an email, you can send your emails to paspektives@przfm.com or tweet at Paspektives. And Paspektives is spelled as Paspektives, or you could send a text to 0757 260 5435. Again, I'd like to remind you that Paspektives is a show that is designed to encourage you to question how you think, to get you to develop the habit of thinking differently, as well as to get you to develop a progressive and a solution-based mindset. This week, we are going to be concluding on the second, we're going to be taking the second part of how to reinvent yourself, because last week Denise had loads to share with us, and we didn't allow her finish everything. I that's not my fault. It was more fault. How can you say it's my fault when
it's your fault?
You were the one that kept on dishing out the
information that you kept elaborating and going back and asking questions over and over
Here
again.
We go again.
That was 2 seconds. Moving on.
Here we go again. Well, I think one of the feedbacks that we got from our listeners was the fact that your contributions last week was very, very, very well received, and so I'd like to say a very, very big thank you, Denise. Right, Denise, I think you should do us the honors. Do you want to do a recap, or should I do it? No, let me do the recap, because you've got loads to talk about today. So last week when we brought Denise in, she talked us through how to reinvent yourself, but she started by giving us her reasons why, as individuals or as groups, we can choose to reinvent ourselves. We said that sometimes it could be a lifestyle choice, that people go through changes, and as a result of those changes, in fact, it's those changes that we classify as the process of reinvention. But the fact remains that reinventing oneself is usually targeted towards a certain purpose, and it's about not creating something entirely new, but looking at a connection between something that's already in existence in order to bring to pass something that you intend to achieve. So we looked at all this, and Denise, you also talked us through courses to reinvent. You talked about, I'm going to get you to talk about these ones now. I'm going to get to talk about these ones. So what are some of the courses to reinvent oneself?
Well, basically, we touched on 3 basic models, I should say, when it comes to reinvention of ourselves. First was we react to something, and that forces us to reinvent. Then we also, instead of reacting, we also are proactive in order to move forward in reinvention. And then the last bit was to actually avoidance also forces us to reinvent ourselves.
I'm sure you have an idea of the next question I'm going to ask.
Give us an example.
Exactly. I mean, it is likely that you have people or listeners out there who probably missed out the broadcast last week. And by the way, if you actually missed the broadcast last week's broadcast, you can actually go on to the PRZ FM Africa account on SoundCloud, and you can not just listen to the broadcast, but you can actually download not just last week's broadcast, but you can download broadcasts that are coming through this station at any point in time. You can literally download them for free. You don't even need to create an account. Just go in there and download. So if you're interested, and I do recommend last week.
Because I was on it. You need to download because I was on it.
Yeah,
that's it. That's an important point there.
She downloaded some heavy stuff that we simply do not have time to go over this week. So could you just give us some brief insight, not necessarily an example, just give us somewhat like a definition of what it means to reinvent based on reaction, based on being proactive, and based on avoidance.
Okay, so with reaction, something happened that made you have to immediately respond and immediately reinvent yourself. We gave the example of a young man being left at the altar. He had to immediately respond because that would affect his future life with a new partner that he would meet. Moving swiftly along, then we also had, that was reaction, then we had proactive. And I used the example of someone wanting to be a doctor whose family was not from, say, a working class, and they wanted to move forward in the social chains, and so they had to go through change and training in order to be a doctor. So that's a proactive. Then the last bit was avoidance. I used the example then of somebody who is an addict, one way or another, alcohol or drugs, or who is in a bad situation, and then therefore they make changes, reinventing themselves so that they can go forward in life. And that was also something that people might say is proactive, but also it is an avoidance, probably from the people that they have cut off, etc., to reinvent themselves, to move forward.
So what I'm hearing you say therefore is that when you're looking at reaction as a basis for reinventing oneself, you're looking at a situation where something has happened, and in order to, as it were, take advantage of that occurrence, either by moving towards it or moving away from it, you're basically responding to an occurrence that, like you said, that is current. So you're taking your actions immediately. Meanwhile, being the proactive reason
you're planning
for reinventing oneself is a situation where, all right, it's sort of like you gave the example of someone wanting to become a doctor, that, all right, you see something in future that you are not yet, or that you don't have at the moment, and you're saying, all right, by this time 5 years, by this time 2 years, by this time in 2 weeks, if I am able to do XYZ along XYZ lines, I would end up achieving that goal. Meanwhile, when we're talking about avoidance, you're saying, look, I find myself in a situation that I really don't like.
Not good.
And as a result, I need to start putting myself through certain paces in order to bring me out. Not just bring me out, but to ensure that I don't go back into that situation again. All right, so listeners, you heard it once again, the dynamic Denise. Yeah, I like that. The dynamic Denise Jackson.
I like it too.
Is on the show today. So this week we're actually going to be looking at the concluding part of the list that you were giving us on how to reinvent oneself. But before you go in there, I just like to also do a quick recap of one of the definitions that we gave for reinventing yourself, because last week we did say reinventing yourself actually stands for the processes. It's not the end product of who you become or what you have. That is not the reinventing we're talking about. We're talking about the processes that you go through that leads you down the path of becoming the person you need to be in order to achieve this new goal. That it's like being, like we said, being underemployed, and you're saying to yourself, I know I have all these potentials, yet the job that I'm doing at the moment is not giving me the opportunity to exhibit all the skills, the experiences, the talents that I have. So in order to achieve that, I start looking for a job or a means or an avenue that
You're taking an action.
That's right. So it is that process of ensuring that I end up exhibiting all the traits, skills, talents in order to achieve a particular goal. It is that process that we call the process of reinvention.
Indeed.
And I remember that last week, I think you talked us through the first of the ways of how to reinvent yourself. So do you want to take us through over that again,
but
please?
There's a key point that I have to make now. If you take no action, you will get no change. You got to take an action. You can go and pay for an expensive course and sit there, be bored, and don't take any action. You have just wasted money. I'm talking $3,000, $10,000, all of these kind of courses. You will not be reinventing yourself. You won't be getting anywhere. So you got to take action.
Good.
And that is key to all these changes.
So in effect, what you're saying therefore is that for the process of reinvention to occur or to be real, there is, let me put it this way, action is inevitable. That actually, positive action, positive progressive action.
Of course.
All right. So what's the first, we're talking about how to reinvent yourself. So give us your first, take us over the first one once more, please.
Okay. So we know about the action. What we got to do though, what you got to do, I'm going to put the onus on you now because you got to do this. Identify where you need change to reinvent yourself. We touched on this last week. If you're not happy in a work situation, or you're not even happy with the finances that's coming through, you got to do something different, and you got to identify where the potholes are per se in order to move forward. Okay? Sorry,
let me jump in there. Sorry, this is my Christiani hat here.
God bless you.
So so now you talked about one of the examples you used that actually triggered this thought pattern in me was you talked about, okay, so say I'm not earning enough as a Christian,
right,
and I choose to go and fast and pray. Isn't that enough?
My people perish because of lack of knowledge. God take action when he started making the world all that way. He didn't just think of it and came, he put words in it and there was action behind it. You can't just fast and pray and then it comes to you. You know, it's like the old story of the man in the middle of the ocean saying, God save me, God save me. He sent a ship, he sent a submarine, sent a helicopter, and he went, I don't want you, I want God to come. You got to take action.
Okay.
And I'm giving you the look.
So I know you. Trust me, she is giving me the look. She is giving me the look. That look is mean, you know. But you know what? So, like I said, I put my Christianese hat on because sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we tend to do everything that we're not supposed to do and end up not doing the things that we're supposed to do.
You're going to make me put my Christian hat on now, and it's a big hat. It's lovely. Push. Pray until something happens.
Something happens, yeah.
All right. So we can be praying, and we're praying and we're praying, and God send us the answer, but we're still there praying. If we pray once, why God sends us the answer is there. Open your eyes, get up, hold it, and take action with it.
Is it possible that sometimes, because the way I see it is that the essence of prayer is to actually hear God give you an answer to the prayers that you're making. So is it possible that when we're praying, or while we're praying, and God sends the answer, and we don't recognize the answer, doesn't that mean that there's probably a disconnect somewhere between the prayer that we're quote unquote making and who we're making the prayers to, plus the fact that we probably already made up our mind on what the answer to the prayer would look like when it eventually shows up?
You see, you've gone on a different tangent.
I know. I want to bring this back. I just wanted to...
That's another program right there. A whole hour one as well. Not 30 minutes. A whole hour. 60 minutes plus some.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to try and put this in a nutshell. Give me strength, God. We could be praying, and if we do not connect with God, so i.e. we're talking and not putting our listening ears out, we might miss the message that God has sent back to us, and even the answer. It's the connection that we have with God one-to-one that we know what it is. Yeah. We could also be praying for something that God doesn't want to come into our life. And because it doesn't come as a microwave package or doesn't come immediately in our time, we think it ain't working. Yeah. But God's time is the best time, and his time alone will stand.
Yeah. You realize that even what we're talking about is a process of reinvention in itself.
Yes.
That I'm hoping that there's someone listening out there that is, by the grace of God, would go back and listen to the sort of prayers that they're making and ask themselves, am I sure that God hasn't actually already answered this? That what I'm just doing is just religious exercise. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. Like you said, it's going to be a whole program in itself. So we've talked about the first one. So give us the other reasons, the other ways of reinventing ourselves.
Now we're going to go to the practicality side of it. I'm all into the theories, but I am a hands-on person, and I'm, pardon the punt there, but I want you guys to get busy this way as well. Now we identify what you need to do to reinvent yourself. Now you're going to have to put it on paper. You're going to have to set a task. Okay. So we have short, medium, long. I'm into short, medium, long, and I. But you're going to see what you can actually achieve now. Take the steps for the medium and for the long term. Okay. Back to the doctor. 7 years. It's a 4-year degree and then 3 years work experience. The first thing short term is applying for the course. Okay. It may sound too simple, but it's real. The medium term would be going through the actually university course. The long term after that then is 3 years on top of that. It's what you got to apply. You got to set tasks, and don't think you want something, i.e. a car, a BMW or something. I got to think big, because I know you guys love to think big, and think as I finish this thing and I go out the door, it'll be there. No, you got to save funds. You got to look for it, examine what you need. Does it suit you right? Does it sit right? All of that. It's a process. Yep. It's no shortcut to this at all, I'm afraid, folks.
Would it actually, because again, you know, it's like achieving, well, the question I want to ask is centered around the fact that, would it make sense to actually, no, what am I saying? You actually talked about this last week, that one of the things to consider before embarking on any process of reinventing oneself would actually be to ensure that the end product and the purpose for reinvention is actually yours.
Yes.
That it's not something that someone has tricked you or encouraged you or bullied you or asked you, or something that you're doing based on wanting to be like someone else.
No,
so would it, so you talked about owning a BM. Would it make sense to actually take a step back and say to yourself, all right, do I actually need a BMW? Must it be a BMW? And if it is, why should it be a 7 Series, 5 Series? Where does the place of actually clarifying that goal, that purpose, come in before we embark on the short, medium, and long term?
It's down to the individual, because they're the ones who's going to set what they actually need to reinvent, what they're not happy with. Taking the Morris Cooper that we use, a 7-foot man folding himself into that small car, doesn't work. He needs. That's when I came in with a BMW, because you know it looks nice and he'd be more stretched. So it's down to the individual. Okay, good. So now we're gonna. The third point I've got 10, by the way. So if you're scribbling, we've got 10 to go. The next one is mix with the people who are in the area where you want to be. I gave the example that if you would like, if You got to mix with people who are in the same caliber of the work that you want to go into, or society or socialite, whichever it may be. You can't pretend that you want to be a surgeon and then you're still being a hospital help. It doesn't make sense, like, for right now.
Okay.
If you're on a time limit as well.
Okay.
It doesn't. And also visualization and visual boards, they do help.
Okay.
So you got to visualize where you're going.
How does that... Give us an example of what you mean by when you talk about visualization.
Okay, I will go for the steal something out the secrets here. Something called vision boards.
Okay.
I have done it quite a couple of times in my life, and sometimes when I go back and see them, like, wow, I actually achieved that. And I'm actually so humbled and grateful to God that I do.
Yeah.
Because if I look back at certain things and I haven't achieved them, I'll be like, Urgh. But for somehow grace, when you say it, follow my show after this, by the way, when you say it,
Yeah.
believe it, and you visualize it, it comes true.
Yeah.
God didn't just create man just like that. He had an image and a visual of it, and that's why he made us, fantastic woman, by the way, glorious, in his own image.
I'm not saying that. Yeah. By the way, you heard Denise Jackson say, immediately after Perspectives is her show. So,
Oh, yes.
hey, do not touch that dial, as they will say. Please go on, because I know we're pressed for time, so
Yes,
I'm
we
going
are.
to allow
Next
you time
one
to
is
go through
learn.
everything. Yeah.
Learn from your mentors, learn from the people in the profession. It has been a noted study that CEOs read at least 60 books in a year. Make it your mission to read. There's lots to learn. Find a mentor and be prepared for criticism that will help you to grow and to sharpen you. I mentioned last week, iron sharpened iron.
Yeah.
You can't be a bright spark and be sitting with a dull man. It doesn't work at all. Okay? Be different. Go where your mates or colleagues have not ventured. Go on the path less trodden, because higher risk brings higher return. That's what I believe in personally, and I write it all over in my books. But you got to try things that are nothing else. If you have a McDonald's, don't set it up beside another McDonald's. You are not going to maximize your profits. That sort of thing. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So let me just ask you. So you said be different.
Oh, yes.
Go where your mates or your colleagues are not going.
Yes.
Try and travel the path least traveled.
Yes.
So would that be the same as, all right, so no one has ever jumped out of a plane without a parachute, I'm going to try it?
He gonna hurt himself. You can all do that, but don't come back to me. I got no insurance to cover you. You jump, you break bones.
I guarantee they probably might not be in a position to come back and ask you.
At all. Okay.
But you do. I think perhaps
Travel the parts that's safe
there you go.
and blessed.
All right, let me allow you go on.
Now, manage your resources.
Okay.
And when we say resources, people immediately think finances. No. People are also a resource.
Good.
The greatest wealth you can have in the world is not money, believe it or not, it's people. You never know the hand that will actually lift you up. Because if you don't, and if you're not kind on your way falling, they might not stretch it out to help you. So resources is very important there. Manage your time is also very important. Look after yourself, your health and well-being. If you don't have any health, you have no wealth. So you got to look after that as well. Your staff and your contractors, because you're going big places, you're going to have your own staff, you're going to have your contractors. Manage all of those resources. Remember, God is a God of love, and He loves you. So you got to love what He is given under your responsibility as well. Okay? And now we're going to move on to the 9th one. We're getting there. Do not tell everyone your business. I'm sorry, I'm West Indian. Tell you why. Not everybody's going to be in your cheerleading team. Not everybody is going to care about the dream that you have, the feelings that you wanted to progress. Not everyone. And you know, some people, if you tell them, like Joseph, they want to tear you down. They don't want you to progress. They don't want you to reinvent yourself to a better life. They rather you all, misery, love misery.
Yeah.
I don't love misery, so don't come to my door. It's that sort of thing. Please don't tell everyone your dreams, because not everybody's going to have the same desire as you. If they're not important to tell, keep it, and then when you know what you're doing and how you're moving forward, and you can see steps and that it looks like it's going to happen, then you can tell a small amount, but don't tell everyone, please.
Yeah, I'm going to try and, I guess I'm going to try and put you in the spot here, because you said, okay, don't tell everyone your business.
Yes.
So how would you reconcile that to mixing with the right people who are in the area where you want to be,
Right.
or talking to a mentor?
Okay, I love Robert Kiyosaki. Pardon me, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And in one of the first book, he got something where if you're bankrupt and you're driving a car and you're stuck on the motorway, and you got your accountant who's also not in a good position and mash your car, and you got your lawyer on the other side, you're not going with the right crowd if you want to progress.
Okay.
So your people that you mix with, they got to be above you in a nice way, to where you want to be. You can't be with somebody who's below you and want to go forward. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you're actually looking at, when you're saying find people to associate with, find mentors, you're looking at people who probably would have achieved what it is you'd like to achieve.
Yes, they have.
And associate with them so that you can learn from their mistakes,
Indeed.
learn from their successes,
Indeed.
so that they can pull you up to where they are.
Oh, yes.
Now, when you're looking at not telling everyone your business, what I understand from it is that at that point in time where you find yourself, there are certain people that may not be in a good position to offer you the support, the encouragement, or the direction that you need in order to accurately reinvent yourself. Such that if you now go on to share your visions with them, and like you pointed out using the story of Joseph,
yeah.
they would actually end up being more of a discouragement,
They'll sell you.
more of a pullback. Exactly. Sell you, hopefully try to sell you out of achieving that dream. So it's about being sensitive to the sort of people you relate with at those
Yes.
periods in time, and ensuring that you're sharing your dreams, you're sharing your ideas to move forward with people who probably would not be intimidated by what they're
Yes.
hearing you say, but
Yes.
they would actually challenge you and say, oh, come on, is that all? I know you can do more.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
all right,
yes.
okay.
And it's very important, this as well, guys, in a very serious sense, because if you want to move forward, remember what you're birthing, your reinvention, is a baby. You've been carrying it for some time, and now it's actually going to be coming out to fruition. It's going to happen. You can't just let it go like that. You've been holding it too long. You've been dreaming too hard. You've been working too hard on this. You just can't give it up.
So it's like the Bible just says that do not throw expensive drills
No.
to pigs. So it's about choosing the right audience,
Indeed.
and ensuring that you're sharing those dreams and aspirations with them. Brilliant.
Indeed.
Okay.
And the last point, I really love you guys. Please, my name is not Denise Jackson, it's Emmanuel Utomi. Failure and rejection happens. Get on with it. This is life. This is the world that we live in. Failure is not there to destroy you. It's to give you a motivation to move on and to push you forward.
Yep.
Any criticisms you get, it's something for you to sharpen yourself and move forward. Get on with it. As Nike say, get on with it, move it, jump
Just do it.
Just do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, Denise, all I can say is a very, very big thank you for
You're welcome.
taking our time to share your insights with us on how to reinvent yourself. Listeners, you have been listening to Denise Jackson on Perspectives on the Prayer Rallies on PRZ 109.2 FM. Please, as I would usually say, whatever it takes as you go into this week, I'd like you to do something. Take baby steps if need be. But whatever happens, I need you to do something, no matter how small, that will ensure that you go down that path of reinventing yourself. And until we meet again, same time, 9 p.m. on this station, I'd like to say thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.
Your culture, education, upbringing, beliefs, experiences, imagination, relationships, personality, and your values are some of the things that have not just eaten deep into your nature, but they have become your very nature. When was the last time you questioned any of these things? When was the last time you questioned how you think? Join me, Emmanuel Utomi, and my guests every Monday from 9 p.m. on PRZ 109.2 FM London on Paspektives, because how you think powers your worldviews, actions, and your ultimate reality. So, come on, let us explore alternative ways of looking at life's issues. Paspektives. What you already know should not stand in the way of what you could learn.